The 2025-26 season is getting closer and closer, and today some friendlies got a wee bit spicy. Welcome back to Folk Football. We've got two games to talk about: Hearts against Crawley Town, and then we have got Celtic versus Queen's Park. So let's begin with the Hearts game, shall we? So we'll dive over to the match report. Jambo Bear no longer with us tonight, of course. He's on the night shift. Anyway, moving on to match report. So, Hearts round it off their pre-season camp in Spain with a 3-1 victory over Crawley Town on Friday. An own goal had the men in maroon ahead early doors before Alan Forrest doubled their lead. Crawley then halved the deficit shortly after, but James Wilson added a third in the second half to round off the scoring at La Finca. The Jambos started the brighter of the two teams and were ahead inside 4 minutes after a good press saw Ilton Cabangu's strike beaten away by Crawley stopper Harvey Davis. Alexandros Carrudes was quickest to react, and when he returned the ball to Cabangu on the overlap, his cross was deflected past the helpless Davies. So, tell you what, no James Penrice. James Penrice obviously on verge of that move to AKA Athens. So that'll be interesting to see what Hearts are going to do in that left back position. Jambo Bear pointed out that Stephen Kingsley can obviously come in and do a job, but it was one way traffic for Hearts in this game. All right, it was much of a one way system. Balls just getting whipped in, whipped in, whipped in. I'll tell you what though, it was a good save for Davies to prevent Kabungu from making it 2-0. Craig Halkett also had a header cleared off the line, but it was only as far as from Alan Forrest, and it landed at him. Bang! Good night. 20 yards. What a goal it was. Now, Crawley pulled one back with our first real effort on goal, but there was no need to fear because James Wilson, of course, got a goal in the second half. Now, Hearts did make a lot of changes, 11 changes at the break. That is the norm um, in these friendly games. But Lawrence Shankland made his return to Hearts in the final 20 minutes, of course, only a few days after signing that big contract with them. Looks like, will Shankland finish his career at Hearts? I'm not too sure, but I don't really see what else is really going to be left for him after it, because if he was going to get a big move, now was the time for that. But in terms of the first 45 for Hearts, it was Fulton, Forrester, Milne, Halkett, Steinwinder, Forrest, Berinjabi, Kamongu, Braga, Karuzets, and McEntee. Then second half, it was Clark, Borchgrevink, Kingsley, Kent, Neuenhoff, Denholm, Finlay, Splittle, Khartoum, Wilson, Devlin, and Drama. So there you go. A lot of changes for Hearts in the second half at the beginning of it, but that's the norm. 3-1 win. Obviously, that's the end of their pre-season camp in Spain. They'll be heading back because, of course, what happens for Hearts due to their failures last season? They'll be in that Premier Sports draw. They'll be in that League Cup group stage, and of course, they'll be taking on Dunfermline on Premier Sports. When is it? Is it the 12th? I think it's the 12th of July. So a lot of action on that 12th of July on that Saturday. Looking forward to the games, of course. Speaking of Premier Sports, Celtic have got a friendly on Tuesday against Cork City that's on Premier Sports. But speaking of Celtic, their game was on Celtic TV tonight, and they took on Queen's Park. I believe they took on Queen's Park last year, and it was 5-3 to Celtic, or it might have been the year before, but definitely took them on the friendly not too long ago. And yeah, that had 8 goals in it. This one didn't have 8 goals. You can divide it by 8. It had one, and it was from Johnny Kenny, and he got Celtic over the line. But it's a friendly. It's about building up minutes. It's about doing this and doing that. You saw the likes of Engels and Cal McGregor start this game for Celtic, which again doesn't really surprise me, because they weren't in international duty at the start of June. Pretty much every player that was featuring internationally ain't going to be playing in these friendlies this early on. But Big Doon made his his re-debut for Celtic. Well, I say his re-debut. Obviously, friendlies don't count, but you know what I mean, guys. Welsh was captaining in the second half. Clark ended up replacing Doon. You had the likes. I mean, there's not much point in me reading through most of the names in that second half because it literally is just youngsters at this stage of the game. But in terms of the first half for Celtic, you did have, like I said, McGregor, Engels, etc., etc., etc. A few other players in there like Montgomery, Johnny Kenny with the goal, Trusty. So, yeah, Celtic win. Both Celtic and Hearts picking up victories. Obviously, over the course of the weekend, there will be more friendlies to talk about. But for me, the big one, Rangers versus Club Brugge. I'm looking forward to that one at Ibrox. Anyway, leave your thoughts down below. That's a friendly roundup. Be back on later on for the SPFL transfer roundup. And I'll see you then.